I know that we're holding you from getting to the reception to other things, but I think that there are a couple things that I'm hoping to do in this space with Dr. Sy, and I said this morning, I will say it again. Surround yourself with people who are smarter than you. Surround yourself with people who challenge you to be a little bit better and to think and to do. And so I'm so grateful for the leadership of Dr. Sy, not just because of her ability to do the work, but because of her passion to do the work. And it is so easy to be discouraged and disheartened in this work, not just because of people or individuals, but because the system is really not set up to make it for us to be successful. And so it becomes really easy when you hit the door and the door is locked every single time and the key that you had last time no longer works, right? And so you keep having to go back to the locksmith, or you got to learn how to pick a lock or do whatever it is that you got to do to get in the room. But that folks keep showing up to do that. And so part of what I really appreciated about what Dr. Sy said this morning is that this is a call to action. And so I do not think, the teacher in me does not think that it's appropriate to give you a call to action and just trust that you're going to do it. So part of what we're going to do here today is really talk about, like, before we dispatch and go out and folks talk about how great this was, because let me tell you, like, the engagement, and I will say the fellowship, I know Marquise knows about that, right? Like, the fellowship in and of itself is what is enlightening and invigorating and inspiring. But the other piece of this is the work. And what I want folks to be clear about is Mayor London Breed cannot do the work by herself. Supervisor Walton cannot do the work by himself. And the truth be told is that they are the folks who are developing the policies and creating the path for us to do the work. And so it's easy for us to sit and point and talk about, like, who didn't show up for this and who didn't do that and who didn't know my name and who didn't call me out. But the truth of the matter is that right now, today, when this is over, is when the work starts. And so the question is, what you gonna do? What are you going to do to advance the work, right? Because I'm going to be honest, and we're going to have some real conversation about how we move this forward, because the truth is, again, that it is not beneficial to be upset that this person got $5, you got $2, and they got 10. Because if we want to advance this work, I want to make sure that next time your 10 or your 3 is 1,000 or 10,000 or 20,000, but we can't get there if you go back and complain because somebody else got something and you didn't. So part of this is, and this is the challenge, and this is what I've said to Dr. Sy and to other folks, is that this work has to live beyond any of us. And if the work is only effective because the mayor is London Breed and Shaman Walton is on the Board of Supervisors and I'm in this position, then we have all failed. If any one thing in that equation changes and the money goes away, then we have all failed. So part of this is, what does it look like on, I give Ace Washington a hard time. He just is now officially able to speak to me now, so we are... We all good, right? But I will say this about Ace. You say what you want to, Ace is on the case. And Ace is consistently on the case, even when you don't want him in your face, right? But that consistency, that challenge, the keeping record, the making sure that we don't lose sight of history, that's what we have to do. So we could hold another panel and we could talk more, but I really do want to understand and get an understanding about how do we make sure, right? I see Daniel Landry here. Daniel is pushing for the policy. He's doing all of this stuff. A lot of what Daniel wants to do is actually embedded in the bodies and the people and the minds in this space. If we're going to change policies, if we're going to advance and make sure that what Eric Shaw has done with the Mayor's Office of Housing and Community Development to provide down payment assistance for Black folks, and if the next level of that is that it's not a loan but a grant, it's going to take you all to show up at the Board of Supervisors to say, yes, this is what we want, because otherwise it's going to go away. So a lot of what Dr. Scott was talking about this morning about organizing and being together and the coalitions, that's what we have to do. So part of my, which I didn't bring like my paper and pens and markers, y'all know I like to give stuff out, but I didn't think about it in this sense. But there is power in saying and pledging and writing and making the commitment. And so I'm back to, what are you going to do? What's the challenge? What's the call? So I'm going to invite Dr. Sy up with me, because I really do want us to make sure that this is bigger than this moment. And I said, and I alluded to it this morning, and I don't know if folks, like, we've talked about this, everybody got to get their house and their paperwork and all that stuff in order, because yes, we doing stuff and we rolling it out, but I want to be transparent and honest, is that they also are like, I would say the announcement of $5 million or the suggestion of $5 million in reparations has made people lose their minds. People are upset. And they're trying to figure out, and they are now asking for all sorts of, they want copies of everything. There's sunshine and everything. They want to know what the Black people are doing with the Black people money. And you better believe anything that is out of order is getting ready to be front page news. So as we continue, as we build, let's make sure that we have, don't be quick to jump on what somebody did or did not do, because you might be next. So as we talk about this, understanding that the loss for any one person is a loss for all of us. So what is the commitment? And so I wanted to, because Sy was like, this is a call to action. There is money that has been moved. We want to continue to see that money move. I want to recognize and acknowledge, like, the Department of Early Care. They gave money specifically for a program, and then came back and realized, I think the mayor helped them realize this, but that they realized that they could cover the cost of what Dreamkeeper is doing out of their own budget. And they did. So they deserved, like, so over $1 million is going to be freed up in terms of that particular pot, because they said, you know what, we can cover this. We don't need special money to do what we're supposed to do in the first place. So I don't know how you want to facilitate, Dr. Sy, but I do want to hear from folks, like, what's the next thing? How do we work together? What does this partnership look like? But more importantly, what are you going to do? So first, March 14th, and I know folks are upset and mad that they got moved. It was supposed to be this week, then it was February 14th, now it's March 14th. You got more time. Like, let's not be upset, it's more time. But I would say, like we see right here today, the Board of Supervisors office on March 14th at the hearing of the full board around Dreamkeeper Initiative and reparations needs to see you. If you want the money to keep coming, if you want to see the investment in the city, you can't just have the people who get paid by the initiative speak about the initiative. Because if it's my job, they're like, well, it's your job. That's what you're supposed to come here and say, that the money is working and it's good. But if they don't hear from the folks who it's supposed to be benefiting, then it becomes that much easier to erase it. So that's where I would say we start with, like, make a commitment right now. Like, yes, it might be longer than folks would like. Special hearing starts at 3, but we should show up at 2 and plan to stay till 6. Like, that's real. You might get out early, but they need to see all of our faces. Diverse faces, diverse socioeconomics, diverse neighborhoods, diverse experiences. So that it's not the story of, because I just want y'all to know, I am not giving money to you all are not related to me. So this narrative that I'm like taking care of my family, like y'all family, but you're not family, right? So we need to make sure, because that becomes the narrative and the way that folks want to tell it. So I just want to kick it to you, Dr. Sy.
That is a great segue. So we have the HRC team. Thank you again to the HRC team. How many of us have a smartphone? If you have a smartphone, we have QR codes here. And this QR code is an evaluation. And we want to learn about your experience, but also there's an open-ended question where you can respond to what you are going to do. If you want to use pen and paper, go ahead and use that pen and paper, and then when you're done, you can hold it up in terms of what you are going to do to Director Davis's question, and we will collect that. The team with the event badges will collect that. So take a moment to scan the QR code, complete that evaluation, and then...
Yeah, I do want to give folks a chance, though, to respond.
Yes.
Like, if anybody wants to share publicly or...
And then we can run the mics. We can have the team run the mics. But take a moment, scan the QR code. We want to hear from you and what you are going to do. And if I can get somebody to be a mic runner.
Yeah. So we're going to start. We got a couple mics, and then Alicia, are you trying to be first up? Okay.
Yes.
I know
Hello,
her.
everybody. I'm Alicia Mayo, born and raised in San Francisco, and funded by the Dreamkeeper Initiative as a narrative shift and storytelling cohort. I was in the inaugural cohort, the very first, making history in San Francisco as I show off my beautiful grays. Anyway. But I have to say that I'm honored to be a part of the Dreamkeeper Initiative because I come from corporate media. I was one of the first blacks on the air at KCBS reporting overnights while you guys were asleep. I launched Cron On at Cron 4 Television in December 2018, okay, as an executive producer of the digital 24-hour news cycle. And then I was a traffic, weather, and news reporter at iHeartMedia on Townsend Street, reporting for over 50 radio stations in the country between Vancouver and the Bay Area. Nobody knows about me, and including my managers. They didn't care. They didn't care about the stories that I wanted to tell about Black San Francisco. And why not tell the stories when I reached the top? The ceiling was literally on my head. They wouldn't allow me to tell our stories. So what did I do? I created my own platform to tell the stories of Black San Francisco, and I created the Dreamkeeper Diary. You can find that online. It's called the Dreamkeeper Diary, and it's telling the stories of all of the Dreamkeepers, the initiatives, the mayor's work, Dr. Sheryl Evans-Davis's work, Dr. Saida Liatufu's work, and all of the wonderful Dreamkeeper managers and program assistants and everybody involved, because our stories need to be told, and they are beautiful stories.
So Alicia is telling the stories. That's what she's doing. Brother Jamil.
I think it just came to my attention earlier, right? And I think it's fitting that we had the Dreamkeeper on the 9th, in Black History Month. But, also for Black San Francisco, we need to know it's Espanola Jackson's birthday.
That's right.
Ashe, yeah.
Yeah, and they're doing something, I think, for her in Southeast. Anybody else want to?
Yeah.
Oh,
Hey,
Miss Queen.
thank
Vanessa.
you. Thank you, Director Davis, and everybody that was here. Everybody did a very, very great job. I'm walking away just so excited about us because I know we can do it. If we just do it, we can do it. We don't have to ask certain questions. We just need to do it. So what I'm doing, Dr. Sy and Dr. Davis, is I have launched a campaign called Felonies is Not Your Friend via juvenile closure on June the 30th, 2023 at 11:59. California will be shutting down all our juveniles. So that's what I'm doing. I'm running this campaign. Y'all gonna start seeing information coming out in a minute. I got a flyer right here that's starting it, and the hashtag is Crime is for Suckers.
All right, we're going to give Queen Vanessa.
My name is Siobhan Hunter, and I am the founder and executive director of Stand in Peace International. And so the call of action for me was that to be very intentional about peace. I think all the things that we're talking about re-traumatizes us, re-injures us, re-harms us, and that the beginning of time we've been hurt and harmed. And so the peace campaign in particular for the Dreamkeeper, which is helping support this call, is around being very intentional. Because the absence of violence does not constitute the presence of peace. And so we must begin to be really intentional. And so a lot of time I invited people to the Healing in Action, and they said, oh, let me invite my client. But I'm here to tell you that you are your client. If you are black in America, or you are black in anywhere on the earth, you have been harmed. And that this peace campaign is for you. Don't look outside yourself. Don't be like somebody else, my kids, my grandkids, my cousin, my mama, my sister. I'm talking to you. We have to be very intentional of how we seek our peace. We're not talking about your people you supervise, because you know bosses like to say, oh, I need y'all to go to this professional development. So the action is to be reminded that the peace I speak to is about you. So if you are in harm, you know, I told somebody 24 hours, Twitch was dancing in the kitchen with his children and his wife. And then 24 hours later, he killed himself. Some people like surrender, whatever you want to call it. He left by choice. Because he didn't know that he was needed. Hashtag stay, we need you. So I'm saying to y'all, we are all needed. But some of us are hurting in ways that we don't want to talk to. I'm speaking about my spirit right now. Some of us in this space are hurting. Hurting. ING. That means action. And so again, Stand in Peace International has a campaign called My Piece of Peace SF. But that's about just finding your peace, being your peace, and recognizing the things that cause you additional harm and eliminating it from your system. So find us. I'm here. Those who know me, those who don't, you will. In 2023, because I'm like Nike, I'm just going to do it. And
Oh, no.
Go ahead, brother. Go ahead. You
Look, I already got the director concerned.
Yeah.
But I just want to give a word of encouragement to us all as a community. You know, last year, speaking about mental health, you know, I had to take a step back. But, you know, in that step back, I realized that I couldn't step away. And this is why it's important for you also keep your mental health in mind, because they're supposed to come for us. They're supposed to, because we're not supposed to be here. The fact that these programs that they criticize exist tells you that we haven't healed the pain. They complain that Dreamkeeper exists. Well, the complaint should be, why hasn't these systems kept the dream for Black and brown communities? This is why this work is important, and I do also want to say...
What you're going to do. What are you going to do?
What I'm going to do...
He works for me. He worked with me,
it's
so I'm
symbiotic.
Like, he on work time right now. I need him to not forget that he's working right now. About to do too much up in here.
But one of the things that I actually also wanted to do is also encourage you all to keep Director Davis, Dr. Sy, the mayor, and I wasn't going to call him President Walton, because he's still my president, but I'm still on the clock. But keep them all in your prayers. Send them good energy. Send them a love note, because they gonna need the armor for this fight.
We got maybe one more. Let's see. We got, 1, 2.
Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Ashley Smiley, aka
Oh,
Smiley.
Oh, Lord. Sorry.
Yep.
Go.
Hey,
Smiley.
right here. Yep, that's me. Yep, Smiley.
Hey, Smiley.
Yep. So, just for y'all who may or may not know, I am the program manager at the Bayview Opera House. Now check it. Whatever you thought you knew about the Bayview Opera House ain't there no more.
All right.
It is not the way we do things. And so what I'm going to do is be doing my absolute best to promote, to uplift, and to develop black artists in San Francisco. You do theater, you come talk to me. You do music, you come talk to me. Now, is it a free-for-all? No, because we don't have free-for-all money, okay? But we have a venue. Nobody has keys like I got keys. Do you understand? I know how to push the buttons. I know how to unlock the door. You need a stage, you come talk to me. You want to do something virtually, you come talk to me. I am here for that reason. I am an artist too, so I'm really not playing games with you. We do not have to seek out being in spaces that have not allowed us to walk through the door.
All right.
I am telling you that in one of the few black places in San Francisco left, there is a black woman with keys asking you to come to her space.
All right. So Smiley is opening the doors. That's what she's doing.
Yeah, testing.
Miss Felicia.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Is it okay for me to speak,
It is.
Director?
I know. Look, her and DeAnthony, I have to be like, y'all on the clock now.
Okay. Yes, we on the clock. And again, my name is Felicia Jones. You know, I keep it real 100, right? Hey, baby. But as I walked in, I missed everything, except for what's happening right now because I was at another venue. But the thing of it is that you all look really beautiful. And my whole thing when it comes to black people, I always say I'm not anti-white, Tongan, Mexican, Asian, but I am pro-black. That's who I fight for, okay? And if you can't get with it, you just can't get with it because I'm gonna keep it moving. But the thing of it is that on March 14th, that's a very important day. And I know as black people gather, we get caught up in the moment of things, and then after we leave out, we're feeling good, and everything just, goes away. So I'm here to ask that you pledge to come out on March 14th. Now, if you can pledge, don't lie now. If you can't do it, don't pledge, because we have to say what we mean and mean what we say. So if you can pledge. And sometimes we have to take 2-3 hours off work, right? If you can pledge to come to the Board of Supervisors meeting on March 14th, I want you to stand.
Oh, she go.
All right, okay.
Yeah.
So that's more than half of us, so
Ace
thank
got
you.
y'all on camera.
Thank
Gonna
you.
Be coming.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, yeah, y'all stand up. We're going to take some pictures of this.
So the meeting, and this is something I want folks to be aware of, and I think that's really important across the board, is understanding how our city system works. And this is part of, again, I can't go full into it right now because I also am on the clock. But I want folks to understand the Board of Supervisors meetings happen on Tuesday, right? That's where policy and decisions and things are made. And unfortunately, we don't all have the ability to be in those meetings at all the time. Same with the Board of Education, same with the Planning Commission, same with all of these things. And so collectively, thinking about how people show up, how we engage, how we make sure that voices are heard is the piece that I would just say, my boss walked in, so I'm gonna stop saying it now. But that, we ultimately cannot wait, and this is what April Ryan said earlier, wait till the crescendo to be involved and engaged. And I will say the same thing I said this morning. I think that Mayor Breed, and again, this is I'm taking a 5-minute lunch break right now. So I'm not technically on the clock. But I will just say that I want folks to understand that a lot of times that things happen with Mayor Breed and President Walton, it is a proxy in my mind for black. So just really be aware, because sometimes the things that get elevated and that get said are not about politics, they're not about policies, they are about you know, that you know, sometimes you be in spaces and you just do this. So I just want you to understand that the fight is not always political. Sometimes it is still back to old school issues and challenges. And so we have been able to celebrate and recognize and appreciate and do this work in a way that has been true and honest to community. And I will say, as I get ready to bring Mayor Breed up, and I've said this before, that when Mayor Breed got ready to launch Dreamkeeper Initiative along with President Walton at the time, now Supervisor Walton, she said, we don't need to go to departments, we don't need to go to look at what the city system wants to have happen. We need to go to community. She says this needs to be community informed and community led, and however we need to do that, that's what we're gonna do. And so as we move through this, like somebody got mad with me one time because I said something and I was like, look, the truth of it is, like, I don't do a lot of this because it's what I want to do. Some folks know I am very opinionated. So some of this stuff I'd be like, that's kind of whack, but you know, it's not my choice. So as we move through this, it's important for you all to be in space so you can speak up for yourselves and say it's true and authentic to you, because there are folks who don't want what's happening to happen. The dreams that you have, the things that you put forward, whether it's a down payment assistance, whether it is opening a brick and mortar store, whether it is an online store, whether it's just, I just wanted to buy everybody in the neighborhood ice cream so we could have Black joy. Like, that is what's real, that's what you want, and that's what Mayor Breed has supported. So I want to thank Mayor Breed for her leadership and her commitment, and ultimately for her investment. And so before we go up to the rooftop reception, I want to invite Mayor London Nicole Breed to the stage.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here to share a few words regarding Dreamkeeper. But I want to really acknowledge Sheryl Davis and Dr. Sy for really being unapologetic about the need to focus on what's necessary to change what's happening in San Francisco, specifically for Black people, period. There's so many thoughts going on in my mind. But this is a part of my dream too. And I just delivered my State of the City address earlier today. And I was just thinking about my grandmother, which you all hear all the stories. And I tell you those stories about my grandmother because many of you probably have very similar stories of getting whoopings, getting disciplined, but also learning about kind of the do's and don'ts of what you need to do to survive as a Black person in San Francisco and in America. And in a lot of ways, especially growing up in poverty, I was always, you know, I mean, I love my community and we had a good time here and there, but then tragedy was all too common. And I thought, why is this so normalized in our community? Why is, you know, violence of all forms so normalized? Why is poverty so normalized? Why does, you know, I was embarrassed when I had to go to the store with food stamps, but everybody had food stamps, right? I mean, it's EBT cards, but we remember food stamps. And when I think about all of that, and I think about how incredibly resilient and talented and creative. We had icy houses and people sold their food out of their houses, and I ran around with, you know, Mama Faye would give me $1 to go to the store. Like we had this whole thing going on, and I thought to myself, why is it so concentrated, and where's the hope? And when I started getting more actively engaged and became the director of the African American Art and Culture Complex, I really fought to try and invest in our young people and to help turn people's lives around. I feel really proud of the work we did. I still engage with some of the young folks who still drive me nuts, but I love them, and I'm so happy to see some of them doing well in life. And I thought, what if instead of someone ending up on the corner selling crack, what if they had an opportunity to open their own business or explore what their God-given talents are? Like, what if we can change the future of Black San Francisco by making sure that at least when all the challenges exist, that money is not the barrier. This is why I started becoming very active in politics, because I saw where the decisions were being made, I saw where the investments were being made, and I saw a lot of the rhetoric, a lot of the talk about, and I don't want anyone to take offense to this, but every time Black people were out fighting for things, then when some battle is won, Black people would not be the beneficiaries of it. And we always talk about the statistics. You all we live in the statistics of the top 4 of the top 5. We are the top 4 of the leading causes of death in San Francisco, and homelessness is about 40% of the people are African American. And when you look at the businesses and the schools and the education and all of these things, and I thought to myself, we're such a small population. Why are we overrepresented in all of those categories? And then why do we always talk about it or use it to push for change, and that change never happens? I was frustrated by that. And I decided to do something different. And different to me means calling it out and not being afraid to say Black people. Blackity, black, black, black. Because at the end of the day, when we look at the data, even if we just focused a lot of time, attention, resources, policies into this community, do you know what a difference that'll make in our city? I know I've not always been there for all your ribbon cuttings or the folks who've been able to get keys or your mini grants or the things that you all are doing out there, but I hear about all of it. I hear about all of it. And that's what brings me joy. Ice cream brings me joy, but that's what brings me joy, because I know that it's working. You know, what's also interesting, and I'm sure some of you are experiencing this city and how it works, it honestly, in some cases, is designed to catch you doing something wrong. And when we're seeing, because we're having an honest conversation today, I know I'm supposed to be here to inspire, and I will a little bit later, but when we're getting these record requests about Dreamkeeper initiative, when we see your elected leaders being, talked about in very negative ways in the press, all of this is happening right in the heart. Everybody's celebrating Black History Month. Everything's on sale, Black History Month. But we see, this, what Sheryl was just talking about, this very, quiet force underneath the surface, building a case against Black people in San Francisco, trying to expose the Dreamkeeper initiative, wondering what's going on and why is all this money going to all these Black people, and are they spending it properly? Do they know how to manage it? Do they know what they're doing? Why is he getting this and what's going on with that? So I want you all to understand, you all have a role to play too. Because all of this behind the scenes fighting, drama, craziness, that's happening right now because we are investing in Black people in this city. And I'm gonna keep fighting for it. I'm not gonna let anything stop me from doing it. Because I was in that position once where I wish someone would have fought for us. I'm not gonna do this job in fear of losing it. The reason why I do this job is because I'm afraid what might happen to future generations of Black people growing up like I did. You all know my brother's still incarcerated, and they come for me because I fight for my brother. My sister died from a drug overdose, and it's like I don't care about people dying from drug overdose, and I don't know what that feels like. I'm not gonna stop fighting for this stuff, because this stuff is a part of what makes our community our community. And so you all have to fight for it too. Part of the fight is that when you are supported in your work and you are blessed in your work, be a blessing to someone else. Be a blessing to someone else. You know, I remember back in the days when it was easier to get housing in San Francisco. You know, my grandmother talking about stories, she'd be on the phone, yeah, call Jim Williams. Jim Williams down the Housing Authority. Some of you guys remember this. I remember that name, Jim Williams. Call him. It doesn't work that way anymore. It's become a lot more complicated, a lot more challenging. It's why it's so important that we don't just become complacent because we're able to open our business, we're able to own our homes, we're able to have a good job and take care of our families. We can't be complacent. We don't have to like one another, but we need to love one another, especially if we're gonna make it through. Because this is why I came to do this work. I came to do this work because I wanna see my community thrive. I wanna see the people in my community become what our God-given talents are to become. Because I know many people look, they're like, oh, London, she's the mayor, but it's lonely. It's lonely. I'm in there fighting those fights, and most people don't understand half the time what I'm talking about and why it's important. Why is it important to get rid of city bureaucracy to allow for organizations? Well, competitive bid, and they got the lowest bid. And I'm like, but wait a minute, this company here is hiring people who live in this city and the neighborhoods that are impacted by the decisions that we're making. So I have to get down in the nitty-gritty on a regular basis about so many of these things that exist. And so I came here today because I'm excited about the future. I'm excited about the future. And there is no future, no diverse city, no city that can brag about our creativity and our culture and all of that without all of you. You represent that in whatever form you participate. Dreamkeeper is really about trying to make some dreams come true. It's trying to change the outcomes of African Americans in San Francisco and being very deliberate about the decisions we make, because it's overdue. We've been dealing with Ace on the Case, talking about the unfinished agenda forever. Well, we're trying to finish the agenda, Ace on the Case. We're trying to do something that has never been before. And it can be scary. It's unfamiliar territory. But I know we can do it, because I know so many of you are so creative, talented, fun, interesting, ambitious, driven, all these wonderful adjectives that describe what make up the people in the Black community of San Francisco. So Dreamkeeper is really about everything you're here to do for yourself, for your lives, for your families, for your community. And we can't take any of it for granted. We have to continue to fight for it. So when one person gets a grant, celebrate that person. When another person gets a house, celebrate that person. When my cousin come home and we able to get him a job with the city, amen. That's what this is about. That's what this is about. That is why we commit the resources to do it. Not just the policies, but the money. Because it's what we need and what we deserve. So for so many years, again, the city talks about redevelopment, the people who have certificate of preference. Folks didn't even use those certificates of preferences. I mean, don't get me started. I've been trying to change these laws for years, and it hasn't been working until we came up with Dream Keeper or neighborhood preference or things that actually help this community directly. So they want to get creative with the rules of what to stop us from doing. I'm getting creative with the rules of what to allow us through the door. So it's time to knock down the door. Our time is now. If not now, then when are we gonna get what it is that we deserve in this city? I wanna see you all out in the communities. I wanna see everyone doing well. I wanna see this city have a thriving African-American population again. I wanna see your kids, the next generations of young people growing up this city, running the tech companies, starting their own businesses, running the convention center, running the city. Because I know who we are. And it's time to remind people of that. We know who we are. So as we celebrate the accomplishments, and I'm so glad that Sheryl continues to do this, that we come together because we need to put it in perspective. I know people are busy with their lives, and I know it's hard. I know your kids, some of you, are driving you crazy, and I know that's hard. But sometimes you do have to take a moment to pause and to reflect on what we've been able to accomplish. No, it's not done. No, we are not finished. We're just getting started. We're just getting started. So I hope that so many of you, especially those who have been the beneficiary of Dream Keeper, that you're able to take this as an opportunity, yes, to succeed, to do well in life, to take care of you and your families, but I hope you'll use it as a community to do something else for someone else. Because that's how we turn things around for our community. It's gonna take all of us. No, I can't be there for everything, but I want you all to know that I'm fighting these battles every day. I believe in us, I believe in this community, and I believe in what this program represents. And we're gonna continue, thank you. And we're gonna continue to make it happen. You know, it's interesting because again, I think back to my childhood, and I never could have imagined this for myself. I couldn't imagine this for myself. But my grandmother, she was a strict disciplinarian, like I said, whoopings. Whoopings work, but I don't think we could do that to kids anymore. They're like, ooh, the mayor got beat. No, I got whooped. I got whoopings. But I think back to my community. And I talk about Miss Coleman, Mama Faye, like all these people in the community, they raised me. Like when they saw me doing something wrong, I got in trouble. I didn't like it, but I got in trouble. And I knew somebody cared. I didn't appreciate it when I was a kid, but as I started to get older, because they took care of me, I felt I had to do the same. I had to take care, like if Mama Faye and Miss Coleman and, you know, all these people, Miss Johnson, they were taking care of me and investing time with me. Miss Booker at the church, ooh, she was mean, but Miss Booker, Ms. Booker at the church at First Union and all these people, if they were taking this kind of time with me, as I got older, I realized I owe it to them because life could have been way different for me. I could have been in a whole nother situation, but I'm in a position to help push for change. So I feel that weight, that responsibility. And the more people that are able to benefit from programs like Dreamkeeper and what you all are doing, then that means I'm doing my job. So thank you all so much for what you're doing. Thank you for being here. And keep it up. Keep fighting. Keep working hard. And the last thing I'm going to say, because it's really enough negativity out in the world. Let's start putting some positive energy out in the world. Let's celebrate our accomplishments. Celebrate your businesses. Celebrate your successes. And you know what? Get rid of those negative people around you. Because there's no room for that in what we need to be able to do. We need to focus on the future, and you all have a role to play. The time is now. I want to get this done so this can be an extraordinary part of my legacy when I'm no longer mayor. So thank you all so much.
Thank you, Mayor London Breed. Okay.